Hi and welcome to Yoga Jadra. I'm Jadra and today we're going to be talking about headstands. Go ahead and grab your mat and let's get started. The headstand practice is by no means a requirement for practicing yoga. The practice of yoga is the practice of settling the mind, and that can be done anywhere, anytime, any place. However, if you would like to practice the headstand, here's a little bit of information to get you started. First of all, if you have a professional yoga instructor available in person, this is the best way to get started, as they will be able to see and guide you along the way. Our vertebrae are stacked bottom to top, biggest to smallest. This is generally very helpful for us as we are sitting and standing throughout the day. However, when we go into an inversion, this reverses and our biggest vertebrae will be at the top and our smallest vertebrae at the bottom. Because of this, it's incredibly important to have strength in the neck muscles and all the muscles along the spine, the paraspinal muscles. It's also helpful to have some core strength, and we're going to use some arms as well, especially as we get started. For some folks who maybe already have a lot of strength in these areas, transitioning into a headstand might just happen in the course of this video. However, for most of us, the material covered here today will be weeks, probably months, and possibly years worth of material to cover. We'll start with the hare pose. The hare pose looks a little bit like child's pose. We're going to take the top of the head and connect it to the earth in front of our knees. Finding the top of the head is actually a really important first step. So to do this, I take the heel of my hand to the bridge of my nose and flatten my hand out against my head. Now where my middle finger lands, that's the part of my head that I want to touch the floor. So for hare pose, that top of your head spot connects to the earth in front of your knees. If it's available, you're going to grab the heels. If not, just leave the hands relaxed down by the side. And the hips will come up over the knees. Find your space here, and you can stay here for a while. This might be your practice for a few days, for a few weeks. If eventually it becomes a little more open, you might be able to grab the heels, and it sort of turns into a nice little shoulder opener as well. You're already strengthening the muscles in your neck. You're already feeling what it feels like to have your head connected to the mat. This is an inversion. Your head is down. To come out of hare pose, and for all of the headstand poses, we're going to relax back down into child's pose when we're done. Okay. To begin the headstand preparation, I'm going to grab the outer edges of my arms and plant the elbows. From there, I'll weave the fingers together. This creates a nice triangle. Okay, so I have grabbed the outer edges of my elbows, left them planted there on the mat, and then woven my fingers together. I'm going to do this nice little trick of actually taking my pinkies and stacking one underneath. Just a little bit more surface area that's really going to be helpful. This is a triangle. This is the shape I want to keep. I see a lot of folks tend to, as they come up, bring their elbows out. This is a line. It is much less stable than a triangle. Opposite sometimes happens where we bring our elbows closer together. Again, this is getting closer to a line. Again, not very stable. We want to keep that triangle. This triangle, I'm going to plant my head right into the helmet of my hands. Okay, so this looks like this. Find my elbows, grab the outside, wove my fingers together. Top of the head connects to the mat. Back of my head planted in my hands. I'm going to tuck the toes and lift right up. Preparation has begun. This is awesome. You're strengthening the muscles in the neck still. You're planting the head on the floor, and now you're really starting to lift the hips. Next step, I'm going to walk the hips up over my shoulders. So I'm going to actually step my feet towards my face. I might just stay here for a while. I might be practicing daily, just coming forward and back. Forward and back, and that's great. And you can just hang out in here and get comfortable. Next, once my hips are up over my shoulders, I might lift one toe and practice lifting the other. Again, this could be a while, this could be a few days, could be a week. Eventually, both my toes come up. I keep my knees bent into my body. This is really important because it's a really nice place to start. From here, my weight is still mostly in front of me. If I fall, I'm probably going to fall back down into child's pose, which really isn't so bad. So I'm going to keep my knees tucked into my body until I feel really stable and supported there in that pose. That's a headstand. If you get up there, that's a headstand. You're doing the practice, you're doing the pose. Okay, so I've gotten my knees in. I'm feeling pretty stable and strong. Maybe I'll reach one toe back. My knees are still bent. My knees are still bent. And I'm going to seesaw back and forth until I find my center and hold. This is a great place to stay. Maybe you want to practice both sides. Counter back and forth until you find your center. Once this is stable and you're feeling comfortable, then I might start to lift my toes. And you've made it to a full headstand. To come back down, you might come back the same kind of direction and tap down onto the earth. Notice that the lift is very controlled. Never am I throwing my legs up. Never am I just using momentum. I'm always using the strength in my body to get to where I'm going. So instead of coming, woo, right, I'm coming to the center. I got my knees up. I'm using my core and then I'm lifting to the next. I'm stable here. I'm stable and steady. Then I lift to the next. The truth is, you're going to fall. You're going to fall a lot, especially if this is the first time you're starting to practice. And that's okay, that's great. One of the reasons why it's nice to have a live in-person teacher with you. If you do fall, you might fall back down into child's pose like I showed earlier. You might fall to the side or to the other side. You might fall over the mat in the other direction. If this happens, it's really nice to have a good wheel pose, to have a nice flexible back, because then you can land comfortably on your feet. Here's what that looks like. So maybe I made it up to my split, and now I'm wobbling a little bit. I wobble, and then, oh no, I wobbled too far, and I landed here on the other side. Now I'm just kind of in a wheel, well, almost in a wheel. I can press up out of it and get back down. If you don't have a strong wheel practice, you might just roll forward, and that's okay too. You might be tempted to use the wall. I'm not a huge fan of using the wall for support, and here's why. Folks tend to make their way up into this great start, and then kick all the way up right to the wall, and look what happened to my back. Now I'm in this like banana shape, and this is not the pose. This is not the pose. I'm going to need to bring my feet back up to get my hips back in line. Maybe if you're just starting and you're doing that seesaw pose, you could use the wall to tap, tap, tap until you find your space, your balance. Alternatively, you could bring your knuckles all the way to touch the wall. So I'm actually tapping against the wall. And this actually is kind of a nice spot to walk your hips forward until you feel your back touch the wall. Now you know this is the spot. And you can hang out here and get that sense of how far you need to come up. And then maybe tap all the way up. And this isn't so bad. I mean, it's not perfect. You're still possibly going to get into a banana, but you can sort of feel that space. And then tap your feet away when you're ready. After the headstand pose, be sure to practice your child's pose with your arms down by the side so you can release the shoulders. So you can really let go of anything you've been holding on to in that pose and just melt into the mat. And that's headstand pose. Thanks for joining me today.